Righto legends, today we are reviewing Daiwa's new Tatula Cork range. What I like about them, where you should spend your money, which rods didn't really vibe for me, and we'll be giving them away. Let's get into it.
Look at the belly on her.
Today we're going to live and die by the spinnerbait.
Have some faith, boys. The Aussies are coming.
So late last year, Daiwa released this range of Tatula Corks at ICAST, and I've been using them on the Bassmaster Open circuit this year and the MLF Toyota series. I've got a fair bit of time on them and I've got some opinions on them. If you know anything about those tournaments though, know that they're brutal on your gear. All types of fishing, offshore, inshore, close quarters, finesse, power, and a couple of lower units later, we know everything that we need to know about this $189 range, the sub 200 mark. And I think that's the first key to them. You can set up your entire deck for a really affordable price. But let me get the disclaimer out of the way first. I'm not wearing Daiwa, but yes, Daiwa is on the side of my boat. I actually worked behind the scenes and helped a lot of the Daiwa Australia guys in the product development and testing stages. But like I did in Australia, I'm going to continue to be your link between the product and the marketing and actually where you should spend your money. And secondly, I think that rods are really personal. For example, the textbook says that you might need a regular action for a certain lure. Typically, I prefer something that's a little bit more fast. Now, if you do disagree with some of the comments that I'm going to make, please make a comment below, because someone that is reading might actually gain a bit of insight with your knowledge. So definitely, please do contribute. Like I said at the start, we do also have a giveaway of these rods, which I'm pretty excited about. So stick around. Let's get into the meat. So aesthetically, first of all, these rods are really nice to pick up. I know it might be a little superficial, but in my opinion, it does matter. So the black graphite spider, track design that they've got going on is really classic and slick. It's actually modern and really cool. Straight out of the box, the cork on that lower butt section did actually look quite light in color, but it aged really well. And as soon as it got a little bit of moisture on it, it really did pop quite hard. I did get the rods in a couple of batches, and when I did notice this and work this out, when that second batch arrived, I actually raced it straight to the lake and dumped the butt section in the water to try and age it. They got a plus from me on the reel seats because they do really make you feel like you're holding a scalpel rather than a hammer. I do like that finesse and petite feel. I'm not the biggest guy, but I do suffer from when I have a larger reel seat. It does feel quite, cumbersome in my hand. So whenever something feels petite, finessey, but has still that backbone behind it, I tend to gravitate towards those rods. And that brings me to the two glass rods within the range. Those to me did feel quite heavy. The blanks are generally quite large when you do have a fiberglass or a glass rod made for you. That comes with the territory, and personally I tend to not pick those up as much in this range because of that. To be fair, the second thing I'll mention that I did notice is that the hook keepers are actually quite stiff out of the box when you do get them. It does take a little bit to move them around and then give them play, which is good because they'll last long, but just be wary of that when you first get it out of the box. Now, let's go through a couple of rods because there are some definite standouts where I think you should spend your money. So let's start with the rod that I think is the absolute banger out of the series. It's the 7.3 Power Versatile. I put up the coding, but the technical data says that it's for heavy fishing with a fast taper. But there's one thing marketing did miss in my opinion, and that is that it's super light for that complement. The most impressive thing about it is that it distributes the fishing weight insanely well. This rod in other series by other brands typically feels like a bit of a broomstick, and it's never once felt heavy, even when flipping heavy weights or landing, say, an 8+ pounder. It's definitely the hero of the lineup. If you want a beef stick that is disguised as a surgical instrument for pretty much every situation, this is it. If it's a frog day, I'll have my frog on it. If it's a flipping day, it can easily handle that 1.5 ounce weight. It's actually the rod that I used to buzzbait my way into the MLF cut and my first paycheck this year. And honestly, if Daiwa asked for all of these rods back, which I guess they're entitled to do, I think this one would probably go magically missing. Now, if you are thinking that 7.3 is probably on the shorter side for either a frog or a flipping stick, I think the textbook would probably tell you that you're right. But again, I like that shorter rod. There is actually an evolution of rods going on right now, and I don't want to give too much away, but rods are shortening a fair bit, particularly in the spinning range. Because the advancement of technology in reels is so great, that line release and the need for a longer rod is definitely dissipating in a big way. But look, if 7.3 is a little bit short for you, there is a frog heavy cover rod within the range as well, and it does let you pelt those lures just a little bit further, particularly in the open water or behind grass. It's also a hammer of a rod and a staple on the deck. All right, had to move my boat because we're getting peppered by waves, but the next two rods are what I use for my urchin style baits. I'm a huge fan of that Koiki full cast. A lot of people have been using them for over 18 months, 2 years even, and these two rods are absolute weapons when it comes to it. The first one is the 7.3 medium heavy. I love this. It's labeled as multi-purpose on the front. I use it with 20-pound braid, this bad boy, and this is the one that I use to pull the fish out of docks or stumps or offshore brush piles that are quite heavy and dense. It's a fast action, and that's a must because it lets you pin that hook, whether it's a treble or single hook, straight into the fish, and that fish has then got no chance. If I do downgrade it, let's say I'm using it at open water, then I use the 7-footer. That's exactly the equivalent. It's again the fast rod, but I use that on either 14 or 16 pound. Now quickly, a bit of a tip on that urchin style bait. You are throwing something with a small amount of mass, but that has quite a large platform. So it does decelerate through the air as soon as it leaves that rod quite quickly on you. It means that you can't throw it on any old reel or you'll end up with backlash, as some of the pitch and flips or the heavier duty reels that I've got in this boat just don't do the job. So make sure you throw that application on something that's got a smaller spool to it that takes a low inertia to start to spin, but then a really good braking system to let that lure go but not break it so much that it'll stop in front of you. Now the next rod, I went ham at Grand Lake and caught over 50 pounds a day using this bad boy, and I guess it's the all-rounder of the group. It's a 701 medium fast, and it's the rod that's going to be your spinnerbait, your chatterbait rod, your all-round bladed jig rod. If you want, you can throw a jerkbait on it. Now this is the point of conjecture. It is the fast rod. The same rod does come in a regular taper, which means it's going to be more forgiving for those chatterbait bites or anything with a bladed jig. But because I'm using fluorocarbon, the new, the Tatula XT reel on there, I've got enough forgiveness with a good drag system that I can get away with the faster rod. And the faster that you can go, always the better, but there is a regular if you do feel you want a bit more protection or traditional kind of feel to your rods. Now the last rod is a little surprising for me. It's the 6/8 skipping dock rod. Now, it's actually really good on a couple of fronts. Firstly, it's 6/8, so it's shorter. It does let you get in behind docks, between pontoons, between boats and jetties, and work really covertly and give you a lot of freedom. One of the cool things about this rod though is very much multi-purpose, not only in its applications, but it's the smallest rod in the range, which means that my 9-year-old or my wife or whomever is on this boat, whenever they're fishing with me, if they're of smaller stature, they're gonna find this rod really easy to use. It's one that's found its way onto the deck constantly. And I think most of us are family people, so this is one to definitely have for other people, but also for yourself when you're working within tight spaces. Now I did say we're going to be fair and constructive, and I'll get to that, but firstly, let's get to the giveaway. So in 1 week from today, I'll be randomly selecting someone from the comments below, and they will be getting their choice of the Daiwa Tatula Cork range. To enter, you got to do a couple things. Firstly, like the video, comment below, and tell me what you would use these rods for. It could be the type of fishing that you'd use the rod for, or maybe even what fish that you would choose to target. Either way, the comments required. The third thing that you'll need to do is be a member of the channel, and that gives you access to some of the giveaways that we've got coming within the next couple of months, including the new MBT screen that we're gonna give away, the HQ box, rods and reels, and I'm even trying to weasel my way to get a new power pole charge, but that one's a bit 50-50. We're still working on it. So you know what to do. Good luck. All right, so let's get into the bit that's gonna give me a little bit of stick from the Daiwa end. Firstly, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, I have not found myself picking up at all the glass rods in the range. In fact, they're not even rigged on my boat. Compared to the other rods in the range, they weren't a joy to use, and openly, the other rods in the range are a joy to use. Again, whenever they're in my hand, I just want to put them down, and honestly, Graphite, like the rest of the rods, the SVF, which used to be in Steez and now has developed and has come downrange. This graphite is so good these days that you don't need glass in your range anymore. The guide train combinations and the reels have just come such a long way. So whatever money you are going to spend on that glass rod, look at the rest of the Daiwa Tatula Cork range. Have a look at that regular rod that's in there that is more lightweight, is less cumbersome within the range, and will do you wonders. Now the second constructive point, and you need to stay with me just a little bit here because it's a little bit tactful and it's complex to understand. In the USA, US product development managers and people that design rods are really, really good at bait casters, which is why this range for $189 is nothing short of outstanding. It is a real pleasure. I've used rods that have been $300–400 and have made me feel less good about my fishing. I don't know, maybe you understand what I'm trying to say. They're freaking outstanding rods. In the same way, in Australia and Japan, where the finesse game is what we fish, is what we're born on, you can't get away with making a not great spinning rod, or a spinning rod that just doesn't perform as well. So what I'm trying to say is that if you're going to buy spinning rods in the US, you want a Australian or a Japanese product developer to make and design the spinning rods, which means within the Daiwa range, you probably need to go up just a little bit more with price. Now, the reason you're going to do that is also a function of spinning gear itself. You're talking lighter line, finesse applications, more delicate rods, precision items, and really nice reels. If you do cheap out in the spinning space, you are going to cause yourself problems. That is lots of wind knots, lots of times where your line gets stuck on the stripper guide, and that's another clue. Look, if you can fit your big thumb or an adult size thumb through your first stripper guide easily without touching the sides, you're probably not using the right spinning gear. Spinning has come a long way from that, and you'll see with the upper end Japanese design, say Steez's or lines of Daiwa products, that the stripper guide is really small. I won't give too many secrets away on that spinning side and how to design a really good spinning rod, because that is a well-kept industry standard that the US really hasn't developed yet. And I think Daiwa, watch this space, has got a lot coming. So that's my second point. You can't afford to budget out on spinning gear, and if you want good spinning gear, spend just a little bit more money. These bait casters, however, are insane. Are really, really good for the price point. Truthfully, you're not going to be disappointed with them on your boat. Now that sums it up for me on the water. Remember the giveaway. I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.